Hey guys, welcome to Tiny Fibre Studio. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, and specifically about me attempting to become a more purposeful spinner by only knitting with my own handspun in 2017. If you're a returning viewer, then thank you so much for coming back. My apologies that it's been a little bit longer than I expected. And if you're a new viewer, thank you very much for checking me out. Hopefully you find this useful and interesting. So yes, it has been a little bit longer than I anticipated between episodes for several reasons, partially involving Edinburgh Yarn Festival, partially involving my birthday, partially involving some stuff that I'm not going to talk about just yet, and partially involving my neighbours and their dog, whose barking has meant that I haven't really been able to record a podcast in the last couple of weeks. Really annoying. However, dog's upstairs, but it's quiet at the moment, so I thought I'd try and get one done. Let's see. So first of all, works in progress, as always. My work in progress, it seems like it's been my work in progress forever, is my Alumna Cowl by Isolde Teague, and it's really close to being finished actually. I suspect in the next couple of days I'll get it done. It is about 2 charts left to go. I've just started the penultimate chart. So we're pretty close now on that one. And I've taken it off the needles a couple of times and just put it onto spare thread so that I can put it around my neck, and it seems like it's going to be a good length once it's blocked. So that's all good. I really haven't made much progress on anything else because there's just been a lot of stuff going on. And of course, the thing that you're probably all looking to find out about is Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I'm sure you've probably seen some of the other podcasters' recaps of it, and you will know that it was fab. I completely loved it. We'll definitely go back again next time, although I'll probably go for longer. A quick recap for those who've maybe only just found the podcast. My plan was to get a coach from where I live in Devon up to London, and then from London to Edinburgh, both of them overnight coaches. So on the Thursday, I got a coach leaving Devon at 1 a.m, dropped me off at Victoria Coach Station at about 7:30, I think, and then I had a day in London. So it was a beautiful morning, really, really lovely morning, and I decided to go for a walk around Battersea Park because although I lived in London for a long time, don't think I've ever spent that much time in Battersea Park. So I walked through there and then walked up to Westminster and up to Regent Street. All the time, it was a really beautiful day and sun was shining and it was all lovely. Stopped off at the Lego store. I haven't been to the Lego store since it opened, and I'm a huge Lego freak, so that was a great experience. Definitely a good little tourist hotspot there. So I popped on up to Loop in Islington. I try to go to Loop every time I'm in London. It's just a really lovely place to hang out, and especially if the knitting group is there on a Thursday night. I always like to try and go and hang out with them. So I did, and we went for dinner afterwards and had a lovely discussion with that little group. I think it was four of us from the knitting group, and then a couple of their partners turned up as well. So that was really lovely. And then I hopped back on the coach and got my coach up to Edinburgh. This was the first time where my restless leg syndrome kicked in. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's really annoying. It's like fire ants running up and down your legs and you can't stop moving them. Seriously irritating. But I had got some codeine and ibuprofen from the pharmacist. That is legal in the UK. It is legal to go to a pharmacist and buy codeine in various different preparations. They suggested codeine and ibuprofen because it has the highest percentage of codeine, and it worked a treat. I took one, couldn't really feel a difference. Took a second, fabulous. Lasted me the rest of the night, and I woke up in Edinburgh and went to meet up with my friend Kate. Kate is my first knitting buddy. She's my original knitting buddy, and we met because she basically stalked me on Ravelry and then sent me a message saying, hey, you know, I live in Ilkley and I think we're both the wrong age for this town. In Ilkley, you're either there because you're retiring or you're bringing up a family. You're not really there if you're kind of mid-20s, early 30s and single. That doesn't really happen. So we met up and we've been friends ever since. And so it was lovely to be able to meet up with her because she now lives in Hertfordshire. I don't get to see her very much, and it was brilliant to meet up. And we used the little box of all knowing, i.e. my phone, to find us somewhere to go to have breakfast. And we happened upon this amazing place. I'll put the name on the show notes. They had awesome pancakes, apple and cinnamon pancakes. Highly recommend it. So myself, Kate and her friend Judith went to breakfast and then got a taxi up to the Corn Exchange. And there Edinburgh Yarn Festival really begins. Now, I didn't have an advance ticket for Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so I queued, and it probably only took us, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes to get in and for me to get my left luggage stuff sorted and put away in the cloakroom. And it was manically busy. I did say that I would try and do some YouTube live from there and that I would try and shoot some video. There isn't a lot because it was just so busy. But almost immediately I bumped into some viewers, which was lovely. So thank you so much if you were one of the people who came over and said hello at Edinburgh. I really appreciated it. The way that most people started the conversation was, how are you? Are you okay? How was your journey? Knowing that I was doing this insane coach trip. So thank you so much for checking in and making sure that I was okay and looking after me. That was very sweet. I did have a quick little wander around the marketplace pretty much as soon as I got in, but it was so busy, you really couldn't get anywhere near the stands without doing a real kind of crawl around, kind of following behind other people and trying to kind of get right up next to the stands. So I had a quick look round. I wasn't particularly bothered about buying anything in particular. I'll come on to my purchases at the end because I did buy some stuff, but I didn't have anything in particular in mind that I wanted to buy. Most of it was just about socialising and meeting up with old friends, meeting new friends and so on. So I headed over to the podcaster lounge where Sue Blacker was doing her presentation on fleece. I ended up standing next to Rebecca Roy, who is a podcast viewer on here. So hi Rebecca. Great choice of name, by the way, brilliant. I think we both heard her talk about fleece before, so it wasn't too bad for us, but it was really quite hard to hear what she was saying. You had to be standing really, really close. So my only bit of sort of constructive feedback really for the Edinburgh Yarn Fest team is possibly some kind of PA system or portable speaker system would have been really useful. But really insightful, really brilliant discussion. Rebecca and I have figured out that we're going to do some kind of crossbreed of the Valais Blacknose sheep, which is basically, if you Google cute sheep, that's pretty much the one that comes up. But their fleece is actually quite suitable for carpets. It's not a brilliantly soft fleece. So we were just like, well, if you could get those, but with really, really nice soft fibre, that would be the perfect spinner sheep, right? Oh, and if you could get them to like live in an apartment as well, that would be great. So we've decided that's our plan. That's what we're going to do. So after Sue's presentation, there was a podcaster meetup where all sorts of different podcasters kind of congregated in this one area, and it was a chance for us to meet up with our viewers and also to kind of meet each other and, you know, discuss podcasty things. So at or around that time, I met with Dana, and with P4 Chen as well. Both fabulous people. Again, thank you so much for coming up and introducing yourself and not being shy. It was really lovely to meet you. So we're all just kind of standing around chatting, finding out about each other's podcasts, and a lot of the other podcasters are shop owners or makers in some way, so dyers, project bag makers and so on. So a couple of the ones that I met, Jill from Bertie and Poppet, awesome, lovely lady, and also Owl About Yarn, and I love that on her business cards she has a little progress keeper that's a little owl. It's super cute. I also met up with Eric from Sticks Plus Twine and Rib Magazine fame. We just had a really brief chat on the Blacker Yarns stand. Blacker was very busy and doing very, very well because they had just launched their new yarn, which is called Samite. And I have a little pet mini skein here, which I would love to knit with, but obviously I'm only knitting with my own handspun, and that includes swatches, so I can't knit with it just yet. But it's a beautiful, beautiful blend. It's a woolen spun silk yarn with wool and some of Sue Blacker's own Gotland flock as well. I'll show you the label. So it's Samite Silk Blend 3-ply, and it's 20% silk and 80% wool. And the wool is made of a combination of Blueface Leicester, Shetland and Gotland from Sue Blacker's own flock, which is a really cute story. And I know that one of the things that they're really keen to stress is that the silk in this is a Himsa silk, which is the one where the moths are allowed to complete their life cycle. I don't know how much you know about this, but in general silk production, the silk moths are killed as part of the process of getting the cocoons, or not. Depends how you look at it. They're either silk moths or they're silk larvae at that point. Who knows? But in Himsa silk production, it's allowed to complete its life cycle. So it's nice and caring to the silk moths. And Sonia gave me a shade card as well, which basically means that I'm going to spend the rest of this year planning what I'm going to do with Samite, because there will be something in my future in Samite, and as I have the shade card, I get to spend all of that time trying to figure out what it's going to be. I love the pink. There is also a really beautiful yellow in there called Drowsy Flowers. Totally love that. I really like their range of kind of neutral colours as well. So Iron Hills, Aspen Shiver, Sunless Hours, Frozen Bud. Bursting Figs is technically a sort of lilac-y purple, but I still feel like that's quite a nice neutral colour as well. And there's Wild Bees Hum, which I love the name, just love the name. It's like a greeny colour, and again, absolutely beautiful. So yeah, Blacker Yarns, Samite. Saw it, felt swatches, amazing, beautiful. I'm sure you will absolutely love it. I did say that I wasn't going to buy a lot of shiny new things, and that's true. I didn't buy too much, didn't go crazy, but I did buy a few things, so I will talk you through those now. I bought Shetland Wool Week annual. This is volume 2, so the 2016 annual, partially because I am still really interested in trying to go to Shetland Wool Week this year, and I thought it would give me a good kind of insight into what it's like. Also because there are some gorgeous patterns in there, which I think might be on the cards. Certainly from the experience that I had on the coach, I kept feeling like my restless leg syndrome was being triggered a little bit by drafts. So I was thinking about leg warmers. It's not fame, is it? But, you know, if it helps to keep the restless leg syndrome at bay, I could deal with knitting leg warmers. I think that's okay. This was one of the other things that I had gone to Edinburgh Yarn Festival specifically thinking, oh, I need to look out for this. It's a stitch fixer. So this is one of the Cocoa Knits ones. I think it's a 3mm, which suits my knitting pretty well. And really all it is just a double-ended crochet hook. And it's so much easier if you're picking up garter stitch, because you can keep the stitch on the hook and just kind of pass it backwards and forwards through. A million times easier, so I grabbed that one. So there were lots of people I wanted to catch up with, particularly some of my friends from the Manchester days. So people like Victoria Magnus from Eden Cottage Yarns. I am so proud of how her business has grown. I've still got some of her skeins from when she was Wildfire Fibres, and I love seeing every single time I see her at a show, her stand's got bigger and bigger, and her product lineup has got, you know, even bigger and more improved. I'm just so impressed by how well she's doing. Also, very briefly, met up with Kate Heppel, who's the editor of Knit Now magazine. She's also one of the kind of Manchester gang, and I literally just saw her at the end of the Ceilidh, which was really weird because about 10 minutes before I'd said, oh, it's really weird that I haven't seen Kate. You know, I know they don't have a stand at Edinburgh, but I kind of expected her to be there. And literally 10 minutes later, I looked across the dance floor and there she was. So I went over and said hi literally in the last few minutes of being at the venue. Also had a really quick catch up with Jolie from Jolie Creates. If you haven't come across her before, she is a tech editor and sort of, I want to say craft business entrepreneur expert. I don't know, it's kind of hard to distill everything that she does, but she does courses for tech editing. She does sort of mentoring for other craft businesses. So again, she's done really, really well since we all kind of left our Manchester scene. And it was also really, really good to catch up with Isolde and her team. As you guys know, I do have quite a lot of Isolde objects, like this one. This, by the way, is Leica from Little Red in the City, which I need to re-knit because it's getting a little bit on the small side, or I'm getting a little bit on the big side these days. But I love it, even so. It has a little hood, which I would do shorter the next time because it's a little bit on the big side, but I kind of love it. So I wanted to catch up with Isolde, and we continued my little tradition of helping out on her stand. So this dates back to, I think, the first year of Knit Nation, possibly the second, but I think the first, where she had a photo booth that was constructed from shower curtain poles. And it was the most unstable thing you've ever seen in your life. It was ridiculous. But we had to get it from the marketplace venue, which was downstairs, up to the next floor, which was where the sort of party was going to be. It was hilarious because we were trying to move this really unstable object into the lift and then back out of the lift, round the corner, through the doors and all that stuff. Hilarious, really great time. And every time I've seen her at a show since, there's been this kind of tradition of trying to help out a little bit. So even if it was just putting a few skeins of blend number 1 up on the hooks, I was happy to help out. We just had a little bit of a catch up really, because I hadn't seen her since she did a trunk show at Pearl City Yarns in Manchester, probably in about 2011, 2012, sometime around then. I hadn't seen her since then. So I caught up with her, had a brief little chat with some of her employees as well, so Sarah and Rebecca, and also may have made a few purchases at Isolde's stand. If I'd been knitting with anything other than my own handspun, I absolutely would have bought more stuff from her stand. Probably some of the kits might have had to come home with me. But in the event, I had to pick up this skein of Tough Sock. It's designed for the sock pattern that Isolde did for Knitworthy 3. And I just think that's going to be a really nice thing. It's going to probably be my first project of the new year. And I just think I'm going to really look forward to knitting with this. So that was my major purchase. And I did get one other thing from Isolde's stand as well, which is this awesome Katrinkles Fox needle gauge. Super cute. When it gets up towards Christmas, I will probably have to get some of the ornaments that Katrinkles does, and Isolde usually has those in stock as well, because those are fab, but I just thought that was very, very cute. I like that very much. And then I popped around the corner from Isolde's stand to John Arbon, and I don't have it here with me, but I bought 300 grams of his sock recipe, Stanbury sock, which is a nylon and wool blend, because I realised that I didn't actually have any specific sock blend in my stash. John Arbon is not too far away from me. It's about an hour's drive. We went to their open day last year, but they are definitely worth checking out. They just launched a new range as well called Devonia, which they do in both pre-spun yarn and also in fibre. So there is something for both the knitters and the spinners. After John Arbon, I popped round to Textile Garden. Now, Textile Garden, I know I'm going to see them at Wonderwool in April, so it was more of a kind of recce to see what they had, because I need to think about any potential patterns that I'm going to need buttons for, but they had some really nice new buttons that I hadn't seen from them before. So that was awesome, and I also got to chat to them and just let them know how much I appreciated them trawling through their sort of leftovers to try and find some specific buttons that I'd requested a couple of years ago. Fantastic customer service from them, and therefore I will always return to them. In between the marketplace and the Ceilidh, I popped next door to the pub with some of the exhibitors, including the wonderful Linda from Kettle Yarn Company, and also the originator of the Yarn Chicks podcast. I love this little postcard. It's very cute. I can't tell whether it's painted or printed. I think it's printed, like a stamp print, but whatever, it's beautiful. It's awesome, love it. And what was really great was hearing everybody talking about what a successful day they'd had. Lots of people saying that what they'd taken that day was more than they've ever taken on previous any kind of previous festival, let alone Edinburgh. And that's really good and really pleasing, because ultimately we want our makers to continue making things, and when we buy stuff we're supporting them. So it was really, really good to hear that they'd had a good day. And then on to the Ceilidh. So the Ceilidh was so much fun. There was a sort of buffet dinner, and we all sat around, had our dinner, and then there was a sort of more kind of non-traditional Ceilidh band who were fantastic and got everybody up and dancing, even if we had no clue what on earth we were doing. Totally the case with me. There were some serious moves pulled by Nathan in particular from Sockmatician, gets a mention for some serious moves going on. And it was just really lovely. Everybody was having a great time. I would definitely go again. If I managed to get tickets next year, I would definitely go back again. And it was just a lovely way to round off the Edinburgh Yarn Festival experience. I then got onto the bus with Caithness Crafts and Louise from Knit British and Isla from Brit Yarn, and got the bus back into town, and then ran up to the coach station to get my coach back to London, and then from London back to Devon. And here I am, I'm back. I finished off the Shetland woolen spun that I was talking about in my last episode with a couple of problems. The first problem I already knew about, and I'd mentioned last episode, which was that I knew that it was going to be too thick, and it is. It's at least Aran weight in places. It really needs to be kind of DK at the most. But also the really weird thing is that suddenly when I plied it, all the kemp started coming out. And I don't understand that, because it wasn't coming out when I was carding it. And keeping in mind, I drum carded it and then hand carded it as well. And the previous skein that I did where it was really kempy, I could tell when I was carding it that it was going to be a problem. This one, no sign whatsoever until the last minute, until I was plying it, and then having washed it, there was little black kemp everywhere. Really weird, really strange, don't know why it didn't show itself to be a problem before. So what am I going to do about this? Because I do need a dark brown to go at the bottom of that sweater that I was talking about in the last episode, which was a mashup of the pixelated pullover and the blank canvas. So I jumped on Jameson Smith's website and I ordered the black Shetland fibre from them, because they specifically state that they only use the neck and shoulder fleece. And I'm wondering if the quality of this and the other stuff that I've already spun is down to where on the sheep it's come from. So I'm going to have to try it with Jameson Smith. I think that will probably be my best bet. You have to order that in 500 gram increments. So I have 500 grams of Shetland, which I will hopefully get some usable yarn out of. I really hope so, because it needs to be usable to go into that jumper. So that was one bit of spinning that I actually managed to get done after Edinburgh. The second bit was I actually did my sample along skein. I'm going to talk more about this when I talk about the sample along a little bit later, so I'm going to put it to one side for the moment and we'll come back to that. I did a couple of other little samples as well, just really teeny weeny ones in greens and purples, just to get into the groove of 2-ply sock weight. I did also place a little bit of an order with World of Wool, maybe, just a little one. Okay, it came in a big box. So what did I get from World of Wool, you may ask? Well, let me start with the bigger ones. So first thing was a big bag, 1 kilogram, of Corriedale in their Cobble colourway. Cobble is, I would describe it as a slate grey, and I think that's going to be a really nice sweater colour for me. I also got Corriedale, again a kilogram, in Sterling, which is a slightly more bluish grey, sort of like a blue, maybe even a denim-y colour. It's hard to tell with the lighting that I use for the podcast, it's kind of hard to tell what colour it is, but it's a bluish grey. So why did I get such huge amounts of those? Well, I started thinking while I was at Edinburgh of doing either something like the boxy sweater or Natsumi, which is I think a Brooklyn tweed pattern. And I figured obviously I'm going to have to spin for it, so I figured some Corriedale would be a good start with that. I also got some of this rather fabulous, it's called Sunflower, but it's kind of, when you look at it close, it's like neon yellow with black. which makes this kind of greeny, awesome greeny colour. Looks fab, doesn't it? Amazing. This is a roving, which is kind of unusual, and I've not seen a lot of this before, so I don't know how long they've been doing it. But I was really interested to try it out because I think I mentioned way back in episode 1 of the podcast that one of the things that I would think about downsizing if I had to was my fibre preparation tools. So I'm really interested to see whether a commercial roving like this would work in place of something that's come off the drum carder, for example. So excited about that. There's 200 grams of that one. And then also from their roving collection, I got the 5 shades of grey mixed bag. And there's a colour in here that kind of matches some of my sofa cushions. And if you remember the sheep cushion with the furry back, I'm quite tempted to spin and then weave to replace the back of that cushion because I hate that fur, but maybe, we'll see. Anyway, little samples of roving. And there were also some needle felting needles and some other bits and bobs as well. That was quite a sort of quick catch up, and I want to keep this on track. I don't want this to be a hugely long podcast, so I will just move straight on to some sample along stuff. So as I mentioned in the previous section, I did complete my 2-ply sample along with some of the John Arbon Stanbury sock fibre that I mentioned earlier, because I figured, well, you know, I am going to want to spin 4 socks from it, so it would be useful to spin some up, see how it goes, and then actually knit it into a swatch. So that bit is done. The swatch knitting is not quite done yet. I really want to finish the cowl first. Just want to get that out of the way, and then I can focus on the sampling. I've seen some fabulous spinning and sampling in the Ravelry group. So congratulations if you have spun and sampled. If you haven't, there is still time. We're going to close this sample by the end of March. And it seems like a good time to announce that the April sample along, our theme is going to be singles. Because to be honest, I don't knit with singles a lot. I have spun some, but I've never sampled with them. And I think it would be interesting for all of us to try spinning a single and sampling it. Again, as with the previous topic, you don't have to aim for any particular weight of yarn or use any particular fibre, but again, consider what might be best suited to a singles yarn. So there we go, that is the Edinburgh catch-up episodes. Again, thank you so much to everybody who made Edinburgh Yarn Festival such a brilliant experience. Thank you to everybody at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, Mika and Joe. Thank you so much to the organisers of Edinburgh Yarn Festival and to all of the exhibitors as well. You did such an amazing job. I know for some of you, day 2 was a struggle. You barely had stock left for day 2. I certainly had heard that from a couple of people, but hopefully you had an amazing time and a really good time financially as well. I think it's really important that we don't overlook the fact that, ultimately finances are kind of required, money's kind of required in order to be able to live a life and also to keep on working on what you enjoy. So I would highly recommend Edinburgh Yarn Festival next year. If you haven't been before, or if you have, come again next year. It was a great time. So thank you to everybody who participated in making it such a brilliant experience. So that is it for this episode of Tiny Fibre Studio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that useful and interesting. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any updates, and give me a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed this episode. In between now and the next episode, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Tiny Fibre Studio. On Ravelry, I'm Ibex, and you can also find the Ravelry group on there as well. Check in there to see how everybody's getting on with the sample along, and we'll open up a thread to start discussing your thoughts on the singles sample along for April as well. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. All right, take care guys. See you soon.